There we go. Cool. So, hi everyone. My name is Stephen Bucher. I am a product manager on the PowerShell team. For the last 2 years, I've been working on kind of AI investigations with the shell, and I'm very excited to be kind of sharing some of the tools that we've built out for how you can better integrate AI into your shell directly and help assist you as you work in PowerShell or any shell for that matter. So, we'll just get started. Of course, many thanks to our sponsors who made this conference possible. We're super excited to be here and super excited to be sharing brand new content with you guys. And yeah, so like I said, a little bit about me. I'm a product manager on the PowerShell team. I've been working on AI and shell integrations and investigations for the last, I guess, year and a half, 2 years. And I've also been working on a lot of the interactive improvements to PowerShell. This includes PS readline, predictive IntelliSense, feedback providers, all that stuff to kind of help the shell help you. That's one of my main mottos when I'm thinking about how PowerShell can be more powerful for users, is how can the shell help you? I also do a lot of work with PowerShell data analytics, so some of our telemetry and understanding our user group and that sort of thing. But yeah, primarily kind of intelligent shell space is the area I work on. Let's start with the problem. So we've been trying to figure out for a long time how we can better assist CLI users. Like I said, we want the shell to help you. And you know, there's so much going on. There's so many different CLI tools. There's so many different combinations of parameters, parameter values. You put a pipeline into things. You start creating very, very complex commands, and it's not always easy to remember everything, and you want to get a particular job done. You kind of know what you want to do, and you want to you have to translate what you want to actual code and actual commands and stuff. And sometimes that's difficult because there's too much out there, or they may not exist yet, or there's all these different things. And so we've been really thinking about how we can better bring assistance into the shell itself. And the emergence of AI kind of provided a bit of a jumpstart for us, where we were like, oh, this is amazing. Like, we can use AI to help solve everyone's problems for every single use case in the shell. No, that's not possible. That's not practical right now. It's not perfect right now, but it is something that we are actively working on. It is tricky to capture every single possibility and every single capability that you can have, that you can use the shell for with AI. And so obviously it's great for some of the general stuff, but I'm sure, as most people know, as you dive deeper and deeper, you start to get kind of more hallucinations and difficulties finding exactly what you want. And we recognize that. And so there's not, one single model to help with every task possible. And so we thought about this, and we wanted to still bring, a level of assistance with these existing models and all the different models out there to the shell itself. And so we thought about how can we, turn it, make it a little different, where we allow users to bring the AIs that they want into their shell, and we provide the platform to build it on top of. I mean, PowerShell is a fantastic platform for different modules, different commands, scripts, all this sort of stuff. Let's take some of those principles and apply it to kind of an AI assistant too. And then let's also make it more integrated with PowerShell 7 and make it more, deeply coupled with your experience. So it's very much a easy, seamless UX, and you can get the assistance like you need. I always think about the one of my main visions with kind of how an AI assistant should work. It should work like a coworker next to you, right? I've spent countless hours bringing in coworkers to my desk, or on a Teams call now or something, where I'm like, hey, can you just walk me through this stuff? Can you help assist me? Can you help walk through these things? And I'm sure a lot of folks have kind of done that themselves in the work. And so we want to bring some of that kind of concepts to this platform. And so we want to introduce kind of this project that we're calling it Project Mercury. This is named after kind of the Roman god of messages, because we work a lot with communication, as well as inspired by the first human space flight, because this is kind of our first dive into this brand new world of AI. So we're kind of calling it Project Mercury, but you'll probably hear me refer to this as AI Shell later down the line, because that's what the executables and stuff that we've built out are named. But essentially what it is a command line tool for creating shells to talk to assistance providers. And note, I say assistance providers and not LLMs specifically. LLMs are a type of assistance providers, but there's also SLMs, small language models. There's also, homemade models. There's also even just like the get help within your PowerShell, window and stuff. That's an assistance provider, right? So there's all these different ways that you can get kind of assistance to the users. And so we want to broaden it out besides just LLMs. But LLMs obviously are kind of the easiest right now because it is a very simple API call for a lot of these tools. So I'll walk through what that looks like too. And like I said, so we're building a platform to build different agents to communicate with different assistance providers, right? There's if you were just in the previous presentation, there was comparisons between Anthropic, GPT, Azure OpenAI. There's all these different models out there, and it's hard to what's best for you and stuff. So we want people to have the flexibility to choose the models that they want, and also build out agents that work with the models that they want, how they want it. And so you can really think of agents as kind of like PowerShell modules, but for communicating with these assistance providers. And that'll make a little bit more sense in a moment here once I demo it. But to show a little bit of the architecture on how we've built this, agents extend the behavior of the shell and provide specific assistance providers to the shell. So you can have an agent for talking to OpenAI. You can have an agent to talk to Anthropic. You can have an agent to talk to Google Gemini. You can have an agent to talk to, Llama 2 or whatever model that you want. You can kind of create these agents yourself and use the baseline abstraction layer that we've built out for this platform so that you don't have to worry about creating a whole new shell yourself. All you have to do basically is bring in an API that you want and get the assistance that you want. You can, of course, extend it out to build however you like it. So we'll show off a little bit more of that later, but this is just kind of an idea, a way to visualize it. We have 3 agents that we've built out currently, one for OpenAI and Azure OpenAI, one for Code Interpreter, which is also OpenAI, but it's a little bit of a different thing, and then one for O-Lama, which I will talk about later. We're going to actually go through kind of building the O-Lama agent from scratch. It's just a way to deploy and launch small language models on any computer. So, yeah. Cool. Briefly about design principles. There's 3 main things that we've been thinking about with this tool: extensibility, usability, and adaptability. Like I said, extensibility. This is something that PowerShell, we love about PowerShell is we want to give the developers the ability to build their own things. And so we want to give users the ability to build their own agents and ways to interact with this shell. Usability. We want to create a clear, consistent UX in the shell. And that's tricky because the CLI is a fairly restrictive design area, but we think we were working on an area. We think we figured out something that makes it pretty well, but with these agents, you can also change it up yourself, however you like. And adaptability. Like I said, all these models are changing almost by the month. And so it's very difficult to keep up with these things. We cannot tie ourselves to one particular model or one particular technology. We want to be adaptable for the future because this technology is growing, changing, and evolving. I mean, like as we speak, right? It's going so fast. So a little bit about what it is exactly. Like I said, we are creating a command line tool. It is a cross-platform, cross-shell CLI tool that brings these agents and brings a kind of a platform there. So enough talking. Let's actually look at it. So let me end the show here. Come on. Okay. Don't worry, I will zoom in. Is that better? Okay, it's a little bit better. Okay, so the executable is called AISH.exe. So I'm just going to simply type AISH, and this will run this kind of selection tool. And like I said, these are the 3 built-in agents. So as you build agents, you kind of see them populate in this field here. I'm just going to select the OpenAI GPT one for now. This is a connection piece to an OpenAI instance that I've created. Like I said, you can do Azure OpenAI or OpenAI itself, and then I can just simply ask a question, how do I create a file in PowerShell? I've prompted this to give me kind of things in PowerShell, be an expert in PowerShell scripting, and kind of bring concise step-by-step commands to me. So you can see here, it gives me the example, explains to me, the new item commandlet, gives me the commands to run, and, it says replace this with your file and blah, blah, blah. That's great. This is not a great user experience. I can't run this. I can't do anything with it. I have to exit, copy, paste, edit. Like that's not a great experience. But it does show that this is an executable that can be run, wherever you want. It can, but we can do something cool where we can do something where I'm actually going to split this terminal pane in half here in Windows Terminal and run AISH in this window here. And essentially I've gotten my sidecar experience. And so Windows Terminal has kind of this API layer that we can call to split this pane and have the AISH executable be run. So now I literally have a side-by-side companion in the shell with me. Same questions and stuff. I can do all this stuff. It's really great for like quick responses here. And like I said, it's right in the shell. But this is kind of like, a side-by-side thing right now. I do want to show off, it is cross-platform too. So if I go over here to my... Oh, I have to specify the path. Hang on. So I'm in my Mac now, and you'll see I have the same exact experience here. I haven't configured my API key, but you can trust me, like it will work the same. You can see it's a split pane, or you can do a split pane here with iTerm 2 or other terminals you'd like. However you want to kind of put it together, you can do so here. But we'll talk about also a way how I wrapped a lot of this into a PowerShell module to really help connect it and just make it very easy to launch and run. So let's jump back here because I got a lot of stuff to cover. Is it going? Oh, okay. So I'm going to talk about what agents are, because we really want to use this time to show you what agents are, to help you get an understanding of what an agent is and how you can use it to build out your own experience. And essentially all an agent is a C# class that implements an interface that we've built out that has a bunch of properties and methods to describe what this agent is. And it's got a very simple, I know this is very tiny for folks, but there's a chat function that you have to implement where you create the basic loop of take the user input, call it to an API, and get that response back. And so that's essentially all it is. And so we'll jump in the code here a bit. So I'm going to exit this experience here. I'm going to actually quit this. Okay. So we have, oh, come on. So this is the Project Mercury repo here. We have a bunch of, different things. These are a lot of the C# classes that each of the agents implement. But what you'll see is the agents folder is kind of where all the agents live right now. Everything that we're doing right now is extremely, extremely early and extremely experimental. So it's not going to be the best, agent creation and agent distribution system right now. It's not going to be as simple as, Winget or PS Resource Get to be able to publish and download agents and stuff like that. We're just not there yet, but we want to intro this idea to help spark thoughts and brainstorms around how we can better these experiences and get folks excited about building agents. And so you'll see here that we have 3 folders for the 3 different agents that we've built in. We're going to be building the O-Lama agent, and all you have to do is basically create a new folder, run .NET new class lib. It will create a project for you, and then you can use the other agents to kind of copy and paste some of the basic framework stuff. But I jumped ahead a little bit just for the sake of time, but wanted to show off the O-Lama agent itself. So this is the main O-Lama agent C# file. I import a bunch of different, system packages, and then I import the AISH.abstraction. This is very important for creating an agent. This is where it brings a lot of the capabilities for that shell experience that I showed off. So we use the namespace here, and we implement the interface for the ILLM agent into the O-Lama agent. And so in here, we just give it name, description, company, some sample queries on startup to get people to get started. This is kind of all the landing page things that you need to create an agent itself. We have some stuff on legal links, dispose and some initialization where we can also put the legal links for like documentations and stuff. And I'll explain what O-Lama is and what this looks like in just a moment. Just kind of want to show you a framework of what an agent looks like. I know a lot of folks are primarily PowerShell developers, but we've tried to make this C# experience very easy and simple so that people can build out agents and try out different experiences with the shell here. We all have we have documentation in our repository that I'll link at the very end here that explains everything that I go through in case it's maybe I go a little too fast or a little over the place, but wanted to just call that out now. There's a number of different methods that we have to kind of implement. There's get command. These are different commands that the agent can implement. Settings file, if in case you want a settings file to actually have configuration for the agent itself. Refreshing the chat. This will just restart the chat so you can just completely start fresh. Can't accept feedback, and on user action are some more complicated ones that I won't go into in this talk, but we have documentation about them. But here's the main meat of the thing is the chat function. This takes the user's input, and from that user input, we can actually do something with it. So let me step back a moment and talk about what O-Lama is, just so you can understand what I'm actually building this for. O-Lama is a CLI tool to deploy and run local SLMs, small language models, or large language models. So I'm going to type O-Lama here, list, O-Lama list. Oh, come on. There we go. I don't know why, but I've downloaded 2 models onto my computer locally to test out. I have Phi 3, which is one Microsoft has built out, and then I have Llama 2, which is the open source one from Facebook. Both of these are downloaded. You can see the size; they're pretty big, and I can run them on my computer. And I don't have the beefiest computer, but these are small language models that are pretty powerful and can run on most machines. But what I'm going to do is O-Lama opens up an API, so I can do something like, is it already in use? Okay, well, maybe I already have it. Okay, so I have this in PowerShell too, but I was using curl earlier to just see. So all I'm doing here is sending an API call to localhost port 11434 to the API generate endpoint, which is where O-Lama is. I give it the model that I want to call. I'm using Phi 3 for this example, and I'm giving the prompt, just saying, hello, how are you? And then I'm going to have streaming to be false, and you'll see why in a moment. But if I call this, it's going to call the local model and actually give me a response back. And so you can see here, it gives me this kind of JSON back. I can say, hello, I'm an AI assistant, and I don't have feelings, but I'm functioning optimally and ready to assist you. So it's there. It's working. I'm calling this model locally. I want to be able to call this model from my shell so I can just have some quick assistance when I need for PowerShell or just some errors and such. So, oh, no, not that. So I have the model, the prompt input, and then streaming to false, the endpoint here, and then I take the shell host and basically will be rendering a full response once I do something with it. But I wanted to show first that with this code here, all this is going to do is actually say hello world after any sort of user input. So let me go back here. Okay. So this time I'm going to select the O-Lama agent, and I'm going to say, how do I create a PowerShell function for create? And nothing's going to happen. I just have it say hello world. And so this is where you would then create that API call. And for the sake of time, I've coded it beforehand. All this code will be available online and after the fact. But let's see. Give me one moment here as I get the final. Just going to do this here so it's a little. Schema. And this is the old one. I'm just going to delete you. So basically, all I'm doing now is taking the package I want to send to the API, serialize it into JSON, and then create a new HTTP request to the local host, to that endpoint, and then check if it's successful or not. I'm just making a very simple API call here. You can do this a million different ways. This is just the way I've done it. But from here, I'm going to build the agent. And so it's going to build all this stuff, but and so since it's a C# project, you can do a lot of powerful things to re-implement some of the shell components. So you can change it however you like. I'm not going to go into that in this session here, but there is a lot of power that you can do with it being a C# class rather than just a kind of a fill in the endpoint kind of experience. You can implement more things more powerfully and get an experience that's much better for you that way. So, okay, I'm going to get the newest version. So this is now actually calling the O-Lama server I have running on my computer. I can say, how do I create a PowerShell function for converting F to C, Fahrenheit to Celsius? And it should give me a response if I've done everything correctly. There we go. Okay. So it was thinking, and it gives me, this is a completely offline model. So I can turn off Wi-Fi here and do the same thing. And, to create a PowerShell function to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, it gives me the formula, it gives me a function to do so. It explains it. It tells me to dot source it. And now I can, call this function, wherever I'd like. So that's just a quick, very brief, explanation on how to create an agent itself. Like I said, if we want to go more in depth, let's talk, after the session about how you can make more advanced kind of changes to the shell experience. Yeah. Let me jump ahead here. Okay. So I've talked about, creating an agent and stuff. We have a lot more documentation in our repo that I'll pull up in a moment. But I wanted to go back to kind of what I showed off in the state of the shell and where the power really comes with this experience. As probably, users of this is where it really gets, exciting. You can integrate this better into PowerShell's ecosystem and your shell experience with this tool. So we have a very powerful PowerShell 7 interactive ecosystem, predictive intelligence, feedback providers, all that sort of stuff. We asked ourselves, how can we use this stuff with AI? And a number one question I got for a long time was, can we create a predictive intelligence module that calls AI? And that's technically possible. We, however, have some design restrictions in order to keep the user experience very good in the shell. We have to keep performance number one, because the last thing we want is you guys typing and, I type an A and then 30 seconds later I get the A typed out, right? Like that's just a bad experience. We want to keep performance number one for the shell. But we're like, okay, how can we go around that and use some of this AI stuff that we're building, this chat experience, and integrate it into those experiences so it's a more natural and good feeling flow when you're interactively using PowerShell. And so we've come up with a way to basically create a named pipe between the AISH executable and then PowerShell 7 running to actually be able to communicate between the two. So when I had a split pane before, these were completely separate processes. They had no idea what they were to each other. And so we had to create that connection between the two so that we can both send information to the AI and also have information from the AI sent back to PowerShell. And so I'll go through the demo here to kind of show off what that better looks like. So actually when, in this experience, this is not using the name pipe, so it's not smart at all. I'm just going to start fresh here. And I'm actually going to, I'm still on the deck. Thank you. I keep sliding my screen over. Is it loading? There we go. Come on. All right. Can everyone see it now? No, I know it's a little tiny, and I'll fix that in a moment. But we've created an AI shell PowerShell module that creates this connection between these two components. And so I'm going to import this module, and then now let's see what this module has to offer before I. Module. There you go. We have 3 commands with this module. We have invoke AI shell, resolve error, and then start-AI shell. And so these 3 commands are very powerful. You really kind of need to use start AI shell to start everything. So I will do that, start AI shell. You can specify a path to your specific executable, but you'll see here, I now can select an agent to use. I'm going to use I only have O-Lama working on my Mac. It is compatible on Windows, but it's a little buggier. I got to turn Wi-Fi back on for this. Good catch. But so now what I've done is I've created the split pane experience just with one simple command with the connection pipe between the two. And so now these two, it doesn't look like it right now, but now these two can talk to each other. So if I say, how do I list my desktop and get the contents of any CSV file, I'm just trying to get like a multiple step kind of command here. And there you go. So it's, pretty simple. Get my desktop path and then find the particular file that I want to modify. And so this is where I can run /code post here. And this will post the command that I was given into my shell directly without me having to copy and paste it. Of course, you can do that yourself, but we realize that's kind of cumbersome. And so we're able to connect it directly to PS Readline here and have it run. It shows my content. And since I'm zoomed in, it doesn't look all that great, but there's a CSV file in there. And then as I type the next command is in my predictive IntelliSense buffer. So if you get a long step-by-step process, it's actually very simple to be able to do step 1, execute it, do step 2, do step 3, step 4, and so on and so forth. So we try to create a very natural flow with how you use AI in the shell with this kind of sidecar assistant experience. I'm going to have to find it's a different file. Oh yeah, I created, there we go. So, I get my CSV file of all this stuff, and that's great and all. But we know that like AI can't always be perfect. You're going to run into errors and stuff. So, what if it gives me this and it gives me some parameter that says, show all. There's that's not existing. Let's look at the other way we communicate, meaning from the shell to the AI. I want to help resolve this error. I don't know how to fix it. Imagine I can't read the actual error message or something, right? But I can say resolve error, and it will send the error record directly into your AI assistant and be able to help give suggestions based on what you just gave it. So it's not like you have to copy and paste your errors and kind of work on. You kind of have this flow where it's like you're typing, you hit an error, resolve it, get a fix, kind of go back and forth. So you have this continuing cycle of being able to get to where you need to be very easily and quickly. And so, it just said don't use that parameter. And so you can use this obviously on more complex things, but the general idea is there. When you hit an error, you can use this to help resolve these kind of errors that way. And the last one I'll just show off is the invoke AI shell. This basically is a way for us to send a query to this sidecar in case you don't want to necessarily go back and forth and ask the same question. Invoke AI shell, I pass in a query. How do I find the top 5 CPU intensive processes on my computer? Hit enter and it will send that query, and now it's processing that and it gives me the response back. And it's like, okay, great. Code post, boom. Oh, boom. There you go. It gets it there. So this is the kind of flow that I've been thinking about for how AI should be interacted in the shell. And you can tell me I'm completely wrong. I would love to hear that. I would love to learn more about how this experience can be better fit for you and how this can assist you or hurt, like how, what does this mean for you? And so we really are very, very open to all feedback around this AI. This is a very new space that we're looking at. And we really encourage folks to check out how to create an agent, how to build out these experiences, and do all that sort of thing. Trying to think if I've missed anything else that I need to present, but yeah. So last thing. Man, 30 minutes goes by so quick. So last thing I want to talk about is responsible AI. Responsible AI is something that we take very, very seriously at Microsoft. We recognize that, not all AIs can be 100% correct, and we want to be very intentional with the kind of AIs that we provide. And, we're not providing any particular AI. You can choose whatever model you want, so your expectations are with whatever you have set up. But we encourage people who are building agents to take responsible AI into account. Don't try to publish agents and try to promote malicious things with that we know are wrong. We want to help form and build these AIs so that they are responsibly giving assistance where it makes sense. And so some takeaways, let's try to build an agent, share them in the discussion tab of the repo. So we've open sourced this repo. I'm just going to jump to that real quick because I think it's a little bit more impactful here. So we have a brand new open source repo called Project Mercury that hosts this project. Right now, in order to use this tool, you'll actually have to download the repo and then build it yourself. But we have instructions in the repo on how to do that. It's very simple. All you gotta do is clone, run the build script, import the module, and then, Bob's your uncle. You're there. So this is also where we encourage folks to submit issues and discussions around how we can better improve this experience, what you'd like to see in this experience itself. And we also provide documentation on how to create an agent and how to make that experience much easier. I understand I kind of, glossed over a lot of details with creating an agent. It's a short session, so I got to keep things kind of condensed, but I wanted to show off a lot of things. We have some really good documentation on how to create agents. So under the developments page, we have a whole step-by-step guide on how you can create the O-Lama agent itself. We have architecture diagrams and all sorts of things. So if you're ever interested in creating an agent to have this really cool capability, we encourage you to check that out. We have a discussions tab here, which is where we encourage folks to share their different agents and different use cases here. Like I said, we don't have a great, publishing and downloading of agents system right now. This is very, very early on, and we wanted to share it with you guys as we develop this because we understand the value that the community can bring to spark amazing ideas and amazing applications in this space itself. So, man, I'm losing my voice here. I'll put up this screen here. So this QR code will just take you to the repository. I'll leave this up so I don't but okay. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I got. I know I'm a little over time, but last thing, build an agent, share them in the discussions tab of the repo, help give us feedback so we can better improve this experience. Test it and try it out. Help us improve this tool. This is a brand new thing that we're working on, and it's very early and it's ever changing. So we really encourage providing your thoughts around it. There's no bad thoughts when it comes to like how we can better use this. Think about how you would use this in your real job and your real work, but and help us kind of figure out those scenarios. And yeah, there's our repository. We open sourced it about 30 minutes ago, so it's as fresh as it can be. So and that's kind of all I got. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions right now. Yeah.
How do you envision this being integrated in Visual Studio Code?
So the question was, how do you imagine this being integrated into Visual Studio Code? And that's a great question, because we've definitely thought about that. I think what we're looking at is how we can... VS Code is a completely different user experience. They have a lot more capabilities that I say we don't necessarily have in the CLI. And so I think there's opportunities for us to utilize those. And of course, VS Code itself has a number of AI assistants that are really, really good. GitHub Copilot being the number one. So I think we're interested in, I know they just launched extensions for GitHub Copilot. And so I think we'd be interested in that, but that space is definitely, that area is on our radar. I can't say I have a good picture of what that looks like today. Any other questions? I can clarify. I know I went quickly through things, so happy to go back and talk through some stuff. Thank you. Let me think. Oh, yes. Thank you. I want to show off that we have the same. So, like I said, this tool is like PowerShell 7. We are cross-platform and we are cross-shell with this. And so what that means is I was showing all this stuff in Windows Terminal. You'll have to use Windows Terminal to get that split pane experience. But we do have support for Mac. And so I can do the same thing on Mac where I start AISH, and this time I'm going to specify the path because I don't have it saved in my path here. But this will work. Yes. Oh, no, I know why. Because I have a bunch of Python packages stuff. But yes, if I start this now, this should work. There we go. And it's really tiny because I have to zoom in. But, oh, come on. There we go. All right, much better. I'm going to use the O-Lama one for example here, but yeah, we have this experience working in iTerm 2 on Mac. So we're trying to be cross-platform, cross-shell. Wherever you use the shell, you can use this. And the other thing is, because it's cross-shell, you can use it with Windows PowerShell 5.1. You can use it with cmd.exe. You can use it with Bash. You can use it with anything. The main thing is the connection piece that I talked about, where you can insert code and use the predictive IntelliSense feature. That only works in PowerShell 7. That is utilizing the specific PowerShell 7 interactive enhancements that we've built out. So if you want that experience, you'll have to use 7. That being said, I can launch this experience in Windows PowerShell. It's going to take me a while because I don't have predictive IntelliSense. Let's see. Out, debug, app, no, module. Oh, yeah, that's correct. It should have failed there. I can run the AISH executable from it and talk to it that way. I cannot. I did exactly what I was preaching not to do. You can't run the split pane connected channel communication in Windows PowerShell. That's the error I hit up there, and I realize it's very small, but just wanted to show that I'm in Windows PowerShell right now, and I can run the AISH.exe executable and get that assistance that way. So it does work that way, but it is not connected with PowerShell 5.1. It is only kind of deeply connected with PowerShell 7. So cool. Oh, yeah, you have a question? So the question was around roadmap, if it would be integrated with PowerShell itself. I think right now, like I said, this is a very, very experimental thing that we're doing. We're calling it kind of a developer preview right now. It's not something that we, feel confident in, like packaging with anything that we ship existing. There could be a future like that, but I can't say that's. I think we're primarily focusing on if this is the right experience, if this is something that works for users, and building out that agent ecosystem and that experience. So you can, create an agent that calls graph. Say there's an LLM that is specific to helping with graph modules, for example. You can call that to get assistance there. You can call one to get you assistance with, AWS commands, GCP commands, Azure commands. You can, specify the specific scoping of where you want to get that kind of assistance from. And the UX is a little bit tricky. Since we want to be cross-platform and cross-shell, we can't necessarily have the as flexible of a UX as VS Code does, for example, but we want to make sure that flow works well for the CLI users, people who like to only use the keyboard to navigate and do things that way. So we're developing our roadmap right now, and I think this conference and this presentation is kind of an opportunity to help us form what that looks like. So, yeah. I think was there one more question? Yeah.
So I have actually two questions.
Sure.
The first one is, will we be able to write a regular PowerShell instead of C# and PowerShell to extend it, and also fine-tune it along the way so that it learns our behaviors?
So, first question was, is there a opportunity to write these agents in PowerShell? And the short answer is right now, not yet. We utilize some capabilities that are only available in C# to kind of get this ecosystem there. We absolutely want to get there, though. We understand that writing PowerShell scripts is very important to the community, and we want to utilize that in that space. This is, like I said, very early, so like we're still working it out. And so building building PowerShell modules is something that we want folks to be able to do with that. And then can you remind me your second question? It was that, yes. So the question was, could it be used to kind of extend to follow along, get fine-tuned as your behaviors, right? So that is something that's one of the scenarios we kind of thought about for why building an agent is great. You can build an agent yourself that can keep track of that stuff, can kind of adjust itself over time based on the history of what you've typed before, or the different commandlets that you use. That's very much a capability with an agent that you build yourself, right? The agents that we've built are very, very basic and are very, very kind of getting started points, but they are very powerful starting points so that you can do more amazing scenarios just like that, where it's like you can incorporate your PowerShell history in some way, and then you can incorporate what commands you have installed, and so it knows that sort of stuff. So that's why we wanted to keep it more integrated with the shell, where it's like it knows you can build an agent that knows these things and expand it out that way. So it's not just a simple call and response. It knows a bit more about what you're doing in the shell. So that's very much a possibility. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. Well, we're perfectly at time. So thank you all very much.